See, this whole thing about moment marketing, right?
Yes.
It's a kind of a disease. Everyone wants to write moment. This happened, that happened, I want to do something. You don't need to do that.
Your favorite slogan?
I'll be biased, but utterly, butterly.
Utterly, butterly delicious.
The success is yours, the failure is the boss's. If the client rejected something and shouted at you for some reason, call me immediately. So we used to say, bad news first, good news can wait, no problem.
Rejection is part of life. You have to bounce back. You have to take it in your chin and you actually take it as a learning and, bounce higher.
Another brand I worked on for many, many years, Santoor. When I started working, it was 1/10 the size of Lux. And at that time, if you had asked me, will it ever become bigger than Lux, I would have said no. But, 2018, Santoor overtook Lux. Advertising is a senior people's business, but it's run by youngsters. So if you don't get young people into advertising and keep them, you're going to rust.
From selling dreams on TV to decoding consumers in 280 characters, Ambi Parameswaran has seen every version of marketing India has thrown at him. He's built brands, written books, mentored leaders, and even brought the Bhagavad Gita into boardrooms. Today, he joins us to talk about what still works, what never did, and what might just blow up next. Ambi, thank you very much for coming to my show, and I'm super excited because you are going to be the first, first guest, which is from my genre, which is on marketing, branding, and all the years that you have spent. But what really excited me about your profile is that you are many things. You're like a superhero. You've done, you've started in advertising, you became a business leader as a CEO, you went to TED Talks, you did coaching, mentoring, so many colleges, you've done your PhD. And oh my God, now we're also writing like this is your 12th book. So you like super packaged, and that's where I'm going to peel it all over to, know more of you. Now, let my listeners learn a lot from you. Like I was telling you, the reason I've started this show is, the newer generations that come to workforce they think life is 10 minutes quick commerce. And I want people like you to talk about how, and you've written a book on resilience. So that's where how you fail, how you learn, how you make choices, how you have your voice and be authentic. But I want to start from where it all started for you. You are an IIT and IIM, and in those days an IIT, IIM engineer, what got you into advertising?
Okay, so first, Darshana, thank you for inviting me onto your show. I know it's a passion project for you, so hats off to you for finding the time to do this in addition to your 24/7 CMO role in a very, very large BFSI company. So hats off to you. So let me
Thank you.
record that, and thank you for inviting me to your show and saying all those nice things about what I've done. I don't know how much of that I deserve, but I will take it as it comes. So thank you very much for all your kind words. I've tried to do many things, and like you, some of them have been pure passion projects, which started in a small way but kind of grew into something very big. And some of them have tried and have failed, right? So if you go back to my own career, I think a lot of times we think we have all planned out, but it doesn't work that way, right?
True.
So I did my engineering at IIT Madras. I found engineering was a little too difficult for me to do, and because I was surrounded by some pretty amazingly brilliant guys. Girls were very few. We just had, I think, 3 girls in our class of 240. But, somewhere I decided I should get out of hardcore engineering and try something else. And management worked out fine, and I went into do my MBA from IIM Cal. Surprisingly, I did quite well in academics.
But any of these academia that you've done, did it help you whilst you were shaping your career in? Because it's a very different coming from engineering and IIM to suddenly a very, at that time also advertising is always cool, party, fun, starts late, work late, that kind of a culture. So fitting in there and really coming up the way. Did any of your academia helped, or no, finally that was just theory and life is very different?
I think academia, very interestingly, when I left chemical engineering and I went to MBA, I thought that's the last I will see of chemical engineering. But chemical engineering came back because one of the big clients I handled was Thermax, and Thermax makes process equipment. And I remember in a particular meeting with the client, the managing director and two of his, senior people, head of marketing, head of finance, someone else, I think, and three people from the agency, and we were discussing something, uh, and then suddenly they stopped and said, "Well, Ambi, you're the only engineer in this room. Explain this to us." And I, did manage to
Right.
explain something to them. So it was useful for me. Even engineering, uh, everything didn't go waste. My little bit of knowledge of, unit operations came in helpful. And then later, when we did a campaign for Thermax, I pulled out the case studies and I gave it to the copywriter to write it. And then when the MD RD Aga saw all the case studies, so he said, "Look, where did you get this from?" So I said, "Look, I got it from your brochures. I pulled it out of your brochures." So then, BKJ Rao, head of marketing, told Rohit Naga, saying, "Look, he's an engineer. He managed to understand what we write in our brochures and he managed to pull it out." So I pulled it out.
Correct. You
And
could.
that campaign went on to do brilliantly well for Thermax. Uh, it also won a lot of advertising awards, but it was a very boring industrial product campaign,
So
right, for a
you made
company
it.
called Thermax, which turned out to be a very readable, very enjoyable, very quote unquote information rich campaign. I mean, those days, if you remember, I mean, we used to do a lot of copy,
Yes.
good quality copy, and
Correct.
in this case, it just worked out very well. So that, of course, what I learned in MBA has been constantly applied, right? I mean, whether what I remember from my days in understanding marketing, positioning. In fact, we were very, very fortunate that Subrata Sengupta, who was then the CEO of Clarion, came and took our advertising course at IIM Cal. He used to teach IIM Calcutta and IIM Ahmedabad both, in addition to his day-to-day job. And those days, there was no VCR, nothing. So he used to actually
Right.
bring a little projector and play films to us in the movie hall. And a lot of us used to greatly admire him. And concepts he taught, he wrote a book called Brand Positioning.
Correct. Yes.
So we used it all the time. We used consumer behavior theories all the time. And of course, finance, P&L analysis, balance sheet analysis, we used all the time. So a lot of stuff you learn may sound theoretical, but they are very useful as you transition in your career.
And start applying. So I want to come back to your leadership, before I get into our world of branding and marketing. And that, of course, is lots that, I want to converse with you. But before that, about leadership, because I want to bring the leadership facets that what did you, when you were, getting into and transiting into becoming finally a CEO and running and, turning around FCB, what kind of qualities that you needed in you, which earlier when you started out, because you was just mentioning, as we were chatting, that you would write the minutes of the meeting, go and give to the client, and that's how you really started. So you really, today people when they come to the workforce, they're not happy doing. Everybody has fixated that I want to be a strategy, I want to be in strategy team, I want to be only in creative. Unlike earlier where we just started, like I remember, Ambi, I lasted only one day in the ad agency because my cousin had joined. So I also went for a day to, it was in O&M. And the person made me read a newspaper. And I said, but listen, you have to talk to me. I have prepared, I've come. And I'm just reading a newspaper for you. I don't know. I decided this is not working. As maybe that's life, but I was very clear and I said this is not working, and that's how I got into IT. But I'm saying, yeah, but at the same time, you started wherever, right? You said we didn't have that career goals, ambitions. But today, and when you were transiting, and having a lot of young bunch, what kind of leadership qualities that you needed and what was required?
There's what is called situational leadership. The leadership needed different situations are different. Um, so I don't think there's one quality which you can say as a leader. I was fortunate that I got to work with a very visionary leader called Anil Kapoor, who was with, who hired me in Boots, and then who then was the MD of FCB Ulka. So a lot of us worked very closely with him, learned a lot from him, imbibed a lot of things from him, and many things which we didn't have. We used to say, you can't have all these things on the wall. They should be, leadership principles should be breathing, in the company. So I'll give you a few. In fact, a colleague of mine even wrote a book called the Ulka Way. One, advertising is a senior people's business, but it's run by youngsters. So if you don't get young people into advertising and keep them, you're going to rust. Right?
Correct.
So you got to encourage them.
It's very different from the corporate world, right? Because
Absolutely.
you have a lot of creative minds that you all are breeding.
You need to get young people. The other thing was young, the success is yours, the failure is the boss's.
Wow.
So we used to even tell people that if you go to client meeting, if the client approved the campaign, approved whatever you presented, you don't need to call and tell me. But if the client rejected something and shouted at you for some reason, call me immediately. So we used to say, bad news first, good news can wait, no problem.
Amazing.
And because we used to say, look, finally we will take the blame. Right?
that's
It's not
amazing.
your problem, it's my problem. And I remember once this colleague of mine took something to this client and he presented something, and the understanding with the client was, so the client asked, Santosh, you're presenting this poster. Santosh said yes. Okay. Has Ambi seen this poster? So that guy said yes. So the client said, okay, I'm going to keep this poster. He kept it. The meeting got over. This guy Santosh came running to my room and he said, boss, gadbad ho gaya. I said, kya hua? I took a poster in a hurry. I didn't show it to you. And when he asked me, I told him, you've seen the poster, but you have not seen the poster. I said, theek hai. So he'll call now. I'll handle it, don't worry. Sure, as he called me. What kind of stuff are you approving? I said, yeah, chodo na, aa gaya tha. We reject kiya na, chodo. We'll do something else. We'll show you tomorrow. But the guy knew,
That you have him, you had his back.
Yeah, that if you goof up, quickly come and tell, and the boss will handle it. Theek, handle ho jayega, no problem. So you got to encourage the youngsters, and we cannot mollycoddle them. So one of the things which we used to run a program called the Star One program, where we used to hire 15, 20, some years even 25, MBA students from, like LMIMS and Somaya, etc. Early days we used to hire from IIM Bangalore and IIM Ahmedabad, but then they became unaffordable. Then NMIS also became unaffordable.
Yeah.
In critical part of the program was spend a month in the market. So as an advertising account executive or account planner or media planner, you're told for the next 1 month, you're going to work with an Amul sales guy.
See, so interesting, amazing. I think these qualities today agencies don't have.
So if you don't work in sales, you're not going to be great at marketing. So I was talking to someone the other day, said, look, people say they want to be in marketing. They don't like sales. I said, then you should not be in marketing. If you're in marketing, you got to like sales.
Correct.
Okay, it may say, look, I don't want a career in sales. That's different. But you got to like sales. You got to be able to spend time in the market. Right? You want to be a brand manager in a pharmaceutical company. You should be able to spend 7 days a month in the field working with a medical rep, and not as a burden, as something you enjoy, something you learn. So every call you got to make a note saying this is what happened, this is what I can do. So we used to do that, and today if you tell someone no, they're sending me to sales. Arey yaar, that's part of life.
That's part of life, absolutely.
Marketing is not just sitting in office and discussing some gas and then hiring a big celebrity and making a big
Correct.
film.
Absolutely. They think it's
That's
making
not it. So you
films.
got to get your hands
be
and
grounded, yeah, get your hands
everything
dirty.
dirty. You got to go and work the market. If you don't work the market, you cannot. a little anecdote. I was advising a company which makes cookies and you know special bread in a small town in not small town, reasonably big town in Andhra Pradesh, and they had a first generation, second generation was a young guy who was supposed to take over the business, and they had about 7 reps going around the city. So I said, "Yeah, I want to go in the market. Market was correct." So he said, "Yes, sir." So I said, "Chalo." So he said, "No, these two people are sales guys. They will go and we'll follow in the car." I said, "No." I said, "No following in car. You get onto his bike. I'll get onto this guy's bike. We'll go." Motorcycle में जाएंगे sir? हाँ, motorcycle में.
Lovely.
They are going to motorcycle. You go on a motorcycle. They walk. You walk. You can't say that guy will go on a motorcycle. You will follow in your Mercedes. It's not going to work. It was shocking, and I think then the father realized the next generation not going to run the business.
True.
So if you don't get your hand dirty, if you think marketing is just the other problem which is happening today, which I've kind of written about, is that I can understand all about consumer looking at my computer. Again, yes, to an extent, but not fully. So that's the other problem today.
True. But it's also coming to those books that you mentioned now that you've written. The one of the areas I want to talk is rejection, and one of your books called "Spring Bouncing Back from Rejection," where you have written a lot of examples and how from rejection you actually learn, and it's not like a failure that you get into depression. So talk about those things, because this is where today I want the listeners to understand that rejection is part of life. You have to bounce back. You have to take it in your chin, and you actually take it as a learning and bounce higher. So give me some, because you've written a whole book. And
So interestingly, the idea for this book came up when I was talking at this Jagran University in, I think, Bhopal. And that was the time I was talking about the other book of mine called Sponge, where I talked about leadership lessons. And I spoke about Dr. Varghese Kurian, Azim Premji, Ratan Tata. I gave some stories about all of them. And so some girl from the audience stood up and said, "Sir, you met all these senior people. You've learned so much from all of them. But we are still very young. We are very scared of being rejected. So what do you answer to that?" So then I got me thinking, and I spoke for 5 minutes on, look, everyone gets rejected. I also rejected multiple times in multiple places. And I gave them some stories of my own rejection, including, Unilever rejected me when they looked at me for summer assignment in IIT Madras. Then again, the next year, Unilever rejected me when they looked at me for summer trainee in IMCAL. All right? So you get rejected.
Correct.
We pitch for clients who reject your
and
presentation.
very often in advertising,
Yeah, and
rejection
it
is part
happens.
of
So
the
you
game.
got to brush your knees and say, get on with it. So that got me to start doing some research on rejection. And I wrote a book called Spring Bouncing Back from Rejection, where I looked at different fields. Like, for example, I spoke to Olympians saying, how does this? Yeah, you get rejected. You get really depressed, but then you come out of it because you know that you're not being taken in the Indian team because of some reason. You can't blame everything onto. So there is a wonderful little anecdote I picked up from Geet Sethi's book, where apparently Geet Sethi was preparing to go to play the World Billiard Championship, and he had gone to the Bangalore Kantivira Stadium. And he had got a trainer, and he was physical training he was doing. And then he saw Rahul Dravid there, and he had got a trainer and was working, on his I think abs muscle or something like that. And Keith said, "Look, this is Rahul Dravid training, but this is the previous day. He had got the news he's been rejected. He's not in the team. He's been dropped from the team. And the next day he's here. So that's
showing up.
Yeah, that's how he says. That's the grit, right?
Showing up for yourself.
Curiously, I was traveling on a flight. Rahul Dravid sitting next to me, and I told him this. So he smiled and said, yeah, possible, I must have done that. But fact is, he got rejected.
Correct.
So instead of the next day sitting and lamenting, saying, I've been dropped from the team, I'm such a good player, I'm such a committed player, they have been, harsh on me, they've been, very unfair to me. He said, no, it's work as usual. I'm back in the ground. I'm doing my training. I've got to get better. I've been rejected because I've got to get better. And so that's it's a real story, right? And of course, in the book, I've talked of examples where we had mounted a pitch for Hyundai. And then we were 6 agencies called. So we flew down to Chennai, presented to BVR Subbu. And even when we finished presenting, I knew this presentation didn't go very well. So while driving back, I was the colleague, a dear friend, Ashok. I said, yeah, Ashok, I don't think we did well. He said, no, I think it was okay. I said, no, I think
Yeah, you realize.
we didn't do well. I don't think. We came back. We sat with, Anil and others and said, look, car industry is going to become big in India. Because I'm talking about 97, right?
Right.
96, 97. The car industry is going to become very big in India. We don't have a car account. Our global company doesn't have a car account. Right? So we got to get a car account. We are not going to get a car account by just going and standing and pitching somewhere. Not going to happen. We got to start building competence. We got to start understanding the category.
Right.
So I said, let's put some money aside, start understanding car consumers. How are they going to change? And then we heard Tatas are going to come out with their car, and we got Tata Motors to participate in a case study competition we were running in partnership with Somaya. And then at the end of that, they asked, do you have a car account? We said, yeah, we have Contessa. So they said, would you like to pitch for our business? So are you inviting? I said, yeah. But then you can't handle Contessa. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And there 13 agencies were called.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the first agency to present. And at the end of the presentation, we knew we've done great. I mean, this is like, we've blown their mind. We talked about car buyer behavior. We had done a conjoint study.
So now you're much more armed with knowledge.
And we had done,
insights.
direct marketing, what all should we do in direct marketing. We've done a lot. So it was great fun. I mean, we did that and then we got the business, right? And it turned out, Tata, at that time when we got the business, our client said, look, we are going to be very big for you. We're going to be your number one client.
Amazing.
So we said, no, sir, we have a few other big clients like ITC and Amul and Honda and Whirlpool. He said, no, believe me, we'll be the biggest. And 2 years later, they turned out to be the biggest client. Interesting side plot to this is that the agency which won the Hyundai account lost the account 5 years later because Hyundai brought their own agency, Chail, to handle the business in India. Whereas I'm happy to say till date, FCB Ulka continues to be a key agency partner for Tata Motors. We've gone to high and low. We've done Indica, Indigo. We've done Manza, and, all that. Now I think currently they're doing Punch, Nexon. A lot of the Tata Motors brands they're continuing to handle. So I'm happy. I mean, it came out of rejection.
It's amazing, Ambi, and I want my listeners to really remember this: that rejection is actually an opportunity. And I love the way I love the thinking that you said, no, the category is going to be, the vision is going to grow. So let's gather knowledge, let's gather insights, and let's then pitch and go all out. And this is where you're saying Tata Motors is still the client with FCB Ulka. So I think that's the kind of rigor and understanding and a vision a leader needs to have. That brings to my next question, Ambi, that what happens when, yes, because as advertising folks, right, you all create big pitches, a lot of, burning the candle, both, the entire team is there, excited, going and pitching, and then there is rejection. How do you manage to handle the team or keep them motivated for the next pitch again?
Pitching is painful. Right, in one sense, so as an agency,
and now they all have started charging over the years. They said if you call us for a pitch,
as an agency, we were very reluctant to pitch. To the extent we used to quiz the client, whether they're clear whom they're looking for.
Right.
And sometimes you find there is no match. You say, thank you very much. We're not interested. So we used to say no to a lot of pitches. And then the understanding was when we pitch, we do a good job. We may not get the account, but maybe we should at least come within the top. If a 5 agencies being called, you should be number 1, number 2.
Correct.
You got to be up there. And but the contra to this is that in the agency, the youngsters find pitch very exciting. So a team which is working, let's say, on Amul day and night, and say, look, for 1 week you're going to work on shampoo. So yeah, some new thing to work on, right? So they get excited, they work for a week on that, and they go back to working on Amul. If you get the business, you create a new team to handle the shampoo brand. Otherwise, I think good. So in the agency system, within agencies, the youngsters like to do pitches because they can have fun. The young copywriters, the young art directors, the young account executive, the young
So even
planners,
if you don't get the account,
they are not bothered.
they're not
Saying they are not bothered, saying they've had fun working on a new category.
So it's
The
culturally
senior
there.
people are bothered because you put in 300 man hours on something.
True.
And your timesheet is showing 300 man hours and what revenue you got is 0. So someone up there is going to ask, look, what happened to this? You can't keep on pitching and losing. So we used to be very, very selective. I remember, it's a very funny story. Jet Airways had called us. And so we had gone for the first round pitch. And in fact, very interestingly, Mr. Naresh Goyal and his wife, I think Anita Goyal, they were all there in the pitch. We came out, they called 9 agencies and they shortlisted, I think, 3 for the next round. So we were not shortlisted. So I was a little disappointed. So I called, I found Lintas had also not been shortlisted.
Wow.
So I called my good friend Pranesh saying, look, yaar, how come? You're the guys who built that brand from day one. So he said, Ambi, don't worry. This pitch is going to go on for at least 2 years.
Really?
And it's going to drain the agency of energy. So be happy that you've not been shortlisted.
Wow. What was the client looking for?
So it went on and on. I mean, like exactly the way he predicted. The pitch, they had some 6 rounds of pitching. And finally, the account went to an agency which was not even in the 3. It went to a different agency. So can you imagine the amount of time, effort?
Yeah.
So I think somewhere, I feel, since we're talking about pitching, I think time has come. In the middle, there was a talk that agency should charge for pitching. I think they should get together and say, look, we'll not pitch without money. And the money should be decent. Suppose you say my annual budget, media spends, everything put together is 100 crores. Your pitch fee should be 1% of that.
So they have, I think over the years I have seen as a client, the agencies, unless you are like a big brand and you really have the intent right, most of the times now they say no. That we will, at least most of the large agency or the network agencies,
they should say no because this pitch is a huge drain of resources. I'm told, I was talking to people in other businesses like, architecture, and they also do a bit of pitching. But I don't know whether they do this level of pitching.
Business
the agency has
development.
gone to the extent they were shooting films and showing, right?
Yes.
They were shooting ads, they were shooting films, which was humongous expense.
Correct.
So which I think is crazy.
So what I understand is though culturally agency is tuned to bounce back, the team is the younger ones enjoy. Coming to your books now and your the next book on Sponge. Interesting names, Spring, Sponge, and like you're writing. So you're talking about some powerful lessons that you've learned, from clients, which has been captured. Can you tell me more on that? And what was Sponge all about?
So Sponge, I'd written a book called Nawab News Noodles, right, which was on 50 years of Indian advertising, which did actually quite well. So while the book had been published, then we were speaking with my literary agent, and I was recalling a conversation I had with a friend of mine who's a senior professor in America, who actually advises a lot of, he sits on some advisory boards of big companies. I think it was during our silver reunion in IIM Cal, we were walking around the campus, and he was saying, he was lamenting the lack of any intellectual capacity among the American CEOs.
Okay.
So he said, look, met so many of them, the only thing they seem to know is how to manage the board and how to survive. That seems to be their core competence. They don't understand strategy, they don't understand marketing, they don't understand anything other than managing the environment. Right? So he said, how is it in India? So I told him, no, India is not
Yeah,
so bad. I mean, I've met, then I told him about several stories of CEOs and founders I managed to work with, and they're very interesting people. I've learned a lot, blah, blah, blah. So this, I thought, could become a book, which is, sponge leadership lessons I learned from my clients. So I wrote a series of, I think, 26 chapters, 26 different stories, which, Ratan Tata, Azim Premji.
So, what are the top 3 lessons that you would want to tell us?
As a leader, you got to motivate your team and lead from the front. So the story, which I've talked about in other forums is this thing about Ratan Tata, where, we were launching a new car called Indigo Marina, which is a station wagon. The launch was that day in the evening at 7 o'clock at NCPA. And, normally during the launch, you display one car on the stage and 2-3 cars outside for people to look at. So the car had come from Pune, and I get a call from my client saying, look, can you go to NCPA? It was 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So can you go to the NCPA? I said, why? Because, evening is the event and 3 o'clock we are doing a dry run. Why go at 12? He said, no, Ratan Tata, Mr. Tata, R&T is coming to look at the car. So I said, yeah, why is he coming to look at the car in the afternoon? So he said, no, I think there is something about some color he wants to check. So I said, what about you? Where are you? He said, no, I'm stuck in Andheri. I can't come. His head of the division is stuck somewhere else. So as you go there, I don't think he'll ask you any question, but just be there. So I went and there was a car, Marina parked there, it was shining, looked as if it had been electroplated. So I saw these 2 engineers who had come from Pune. They were kind of giving it some polish, and then R&T's car came, R&T got down, he kind of nodded to me, and then he went to the car, went around the car twice, and he asked me, what do you think about the car? I said, looking very interesting. Then he showed me, this door, does this color look different? I said, no, it doesn't look different, it looks okay. So then he said, how are you going to display the car? So I had Michael Menezes, who was the event company owner, he was there. So I said, Michael, let's show the diagram. So we showed the stage. They said, where will the car be parked? So I said, car will be parked there. I said, no, why are you leaving so much space in car and the audience? So he said, no, there are going to be some dancers. So he said, okay. Event is at 7. I said, yeah, it's at 7 in the evening.
He got into all details, all nitty-gritties of it.
A little bit. And then he was then spending time with the 2 engineers, and then he left. So after he left, I said, look, why did he come? I mean, he didn't come to see, this is not the first car. We launched many cars. This is not the first car. So they asked the engineer, why did he come? In the middle of the day, leave everything. And then the engineer said, look, in fact, Mr. Tata had seen a car like this at Geneva Auto Show, which was, silver coated car. It looks as if it is electroplated, but you can't electroplate a car physically, it's not possible. So he had found, done some research and found that if you apply a particular chemical and rub it with another chemical, it will look as if it is shining.
Okay.
And so he had come and told the plant guys, look, next car we launch, we should do this. So they had done it. They had got a car prepared, and he had gone there the previous month, and he looked at it. It looked like, very patchy, yellow patches everywhere. So he told them, look, it's not happening. So you forget it. We'll try it some other time. But those engineers in the Tata Motors plant are a very adamant lot. They said, no, we will try, sir, we'll try. And then they got this car done. And it looked fine. And so they wanted to use it for the launch. And Mr. Tata could have said, yeah, use it for the launch. If it looks fine, use it for the launch. Or he could have said someone else to check the car. But he came himself because I think he was committed, he was passionate, and he wanted to actually send a message to the plant that I appreciate what you guys have done. So he dropped everything. He must have had 2 meetings, 3 meetings. God, no, he dropped everything. I'm going to NCP. I'm going to spend half an hour, look at the car, and then come back. He did everything, and he went back. Right? So the two engineers were floating. They were very, very thrilled that Mr. Tata came, looked at everything, and he went. So that's again a sign of a leader. Like, look, as a leader, you got to learn, you got to help your team learn, you got to let your team make mistakes, and you got to then encourage them when they succeed to pat them on the back. So all this is I learned from this one episode. Unfortunately, I didn't run away. I spent time with those two engineers to find out why did this happen? Why did he come?
You got deeper
Yeah,
in
and then you go deeper,
understanding.
you learn. So,
That's
like this, there are multiple stories.
amazing. So, what keeps you motivated to write so many books? And we will also come to your latest launch, which is marketing mixology. So, but 12 books. So, what really excites you? Is there the academic in you who's coming out, and or what in the environment is motivating you?
So it started what 25 years ago, honestly.
You always wanted to write
So
a
I used
book.
to write columns. My boss used to encourage me, so I used to write. And then I started teaching at NMIMS.
Okay.
I don't know whether you were there. There was a professor called Sunanda Ishwaran. He used to teach marketing. So she invited me to come and teach, I think brand management or something like that. So I wanted to use case studies. And those days, uh, these Harvard cases were not easily available.
Yeah, no, true.
And they used to cost a bomb. So a lot of B schools used to use these Xerox copies, which was illegal technically. So I said, I will, and why use American cases? Why not you do Indian cases? So I actually got a colleague of mine, and we sat and wrote cases
Oh wow.
of our own brands, like Santoor soap, Sundrop cooking oil, Amul,
Yeah, all the
Godrej
experience, all your brands.
Storewell,
Wow.
a lot of these cases we wrote. And I used them in my teaching, and it went on well. And then someone suggested, why don't you convert this into a book? And I wrote to Tata McGraw-Hill. And they said, yeah. The publisher called Deepa came down, met me. She said, yes, we will publish the book. So that book came out in the year 2000. Right?
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then I would have said that would have been the end of it.
So
But
25 years you've
yeah,
been
then they said, look, why don't you write something else? So then the second book, the third book, and it's been going on like that. So it actually started, first book was actually started as a help to teach. It went into multiple reprints. It should be there in most B school libraries. People have used it extensively. And then I wrote a second volume of that. So it started that way to try and share whatever little bit and use in education more than anything else. Yeah.
So, Ambi, tell me more about this latest book that you've launched, the Marketing Mixology. And it's amazing. I like the concoction that you've done, marketing and the four ingredients that go in branding, consumer understanding, selling, and communication. And so, where did this idea come from, and what is the really recipe in this?
This book really is a kind of a mixology. It has an interesting backstory.
Okay.
I think 4-5 years ago, Amazon had the so-called Prime Day. And on Prime Day, they were wanting to offer free books on their Kindle platform. So they got a few of us to write a mini book. So I wrote a mini book about 10,000 words
Okay.
on negotiation. And that turned out to be a big seller. It kind of did very well on their platform.
Lovely.
And then the next year they said, can you write something else? And I wrote something on branding. That also did well. The deal with Amazon was it's a one-time sale. They have the copyright for 1 year and it comes back.
Okay.
So these two came back. Right? So I had negotiation came back and branding came back. So I had two chapters. So my publisher, Kartika, and Anish Chandy, my agent, said, look, yaar Ambi, this can become a book. I said, no, these are two mini books, yaar. He said, no, write two more. What topics can you write on? So then I kind of started digging and I thought I'll write on consumers, understanding consumers, and one on communication.
Communication.
And then I wrote those two. And then Aurodeep came, who's again a editor. He said, no, these are looking disjointed. Can you rewrite? So I sat and rewrote all the four.
How long does it take for you to?
It takes 2 years, right? And
Wow.
I'd fortunately I'd done interviews with CMOs, about 25 of them, for B positive, for brand equity,
Yes.
ET brand equity. So I had that material. So I put all that together and I wrote these 4 chapters, put it together. Then I said, look, this is not a typical marketing book because most marketing books will not cover negotiation, will not cover communication. In fact, in the book, I've talked about one on one communication, I've talked about one to many communication, I've talked about marketing communication. So books don't cover that. In marketing books don't cover that.
Yes, true.
So I said, this is thoda mixture hai isme, kuch mix hai. So the idea was let's give it a quirky name. So the name which kind of went into my head was Marketing Masala Mix. And I said the box, the cover should look like a MDH masala box.
Acha.
But my publisher, that's too gimmicky. It will not work. So, but I wanted a slightly quirky title. So I went back and that was the time, year and a half ago, we were all getting to learn to use ChatGPT. So I went to ChatGPT, started writing prompts, started getting names. And in all that, I found this word mixology. I said
Wow.
yes.
So GPT helped you.
Yeah. So marketing mixology, let's use it as a name. So the mixology word, I wouldn't have thought of it. This came from ChatGPT. Once I got this, then I realized, you should put bottles. So I got ChatGPT to design a cover for me. And it designed a cover. I said, cover should be bright color, 4 bottles, each bottle should be labeled. And it gave a color, get a very nice cover, but it looked very ChatGPT. So I gave that as a guide to the designer. And the designer, this guy, Saurabh Garge, did this. He did a great job. He took so what would have otherwise taken a long time, ChatGPT helped me
Bring it down.
crunch it, it, and it worked well.
And help you. So you come from the era of, creating memorability, memory structures, nostalgia, basically. That magic that went in to create nostalgia and Amul, Santoor, many things that you've done. So where does this nostalgia come now? Because the whole gamut has changed. Your screens have changed, your attention has changed, and so much of clutter. What would you advise now to the young marketeers?
I think the fundamentals are not going to change. I think AI is going to become part of life, right? So, if you remember, my generation when we started working, there were no computers.
True.
Right? Even in IIM Calcutta, we didn't have a computer. We used to use the Jadavpur computer, and then computers came, and then the first stage of computer was I experienced it in Boots, where the computer was in a special EDP center. No one was allowed to enter that, right? And then came the time PCs came. That was 80,
Yes.
86, 87, PCs started coming. We started learn how to use PCs. And then we learned how to use, spreadsheet, PowerPoint, etc. And then now we started using the internet for searching, analyzing, blah, blah. And now same thing will happen with AI. We will learn how to use, just as we learned how to use PowerPoint, how to use Excel, how to use Word, we will learn how to use AI. If you don't know, you're going to be left behind. Because, if I have to write a report, I can get a decent first draft from AI.
True.
Right? I feed all the information and say, look, I want it condensed into 3 pages. You'll get it. Then you work on it. You work on it on improving it. It will not cover everything. It will not give it your touch. So give it your touch. Put in your language. And then correct it. It will be mistakes. If you don't do that, right, someone in the next cabin is going to do that. Right? You say, no, I'm going to do everything myself, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to. It's like good old days, someone saying, look, I'm not going to use Excel. I'm going to do calculation by hand. It will take you 2 weeks to do
Time
the
and
calculation.
efficiency. Yeah, you're not efficient.
Yeah, and it will also be, slightly inaccurate, whereas Excel doesn't make mistakes. I mean, if it makes mistakes, it makes big mistakes. But so you got to learn that. You got to learn how to use AI to become more productive. Right? So I would see this as a productivity tool. Like same thing with ad agencies, right? So you know, people are saying ad agencies are going to be, big trouble with AI. Now, agencies,
Do you think it's going to happen?
I don't think so because, when Photoshop came, theoretically, agencies were not needed. The client can hire a DTP artist and do all the layout in their own office, but they didn't because it's not that easy.
Right.
You need the touch of
You
someone
need.
to do a better job. So same thing. I don't think agencies are going to be kind of killed because AI is going to come. Agencies have to learn.
To adapt
Just like
themselves.
agency learned how to use Photoshop, agency learned how to use Corel Draw, agency learned how to use Final Cut Pro. Agency learned how to use that. Agency will have to learn AI. And my feeling is, since agencies have shown that agility in the past,
Time and again,
they
yes.
will show that agility again.
True.
Client organization, especially large companies, are always very slow.
But you heard what Mark Zuckerberg was talking about, and how Google is going to really completely disrupt with this agentic coming in and do the whole orchestration by the agentic, their bots, the AI bots doing.
Yeah, I think
You
what's
see
going to
all that.
happen is the smaller companies, which don't use large agencies, will be able to benefit from all this. But large companies will always need the comfort of using a large agency
Right.
to do handle all this. Like, why do large agencies have an external law firm? Why do large agencies have an external chartered accountant? 'Cause they need some external validity,
True.
validation. So they will need. I don't think agencies are going to go away. They will have to change. Their role will change, right? And I think they will continue.
So coming to this whole new generation, Ambi, the Gen Z, which smell out if anything is inefficient. One of the reports said that 82% of Gen Zs, if they don't like if anything is inauthentic, because so much of content clutter, they're looking for authenticity. And we also spoke about how regional content, that's why is celebrated. People want something which is culturally true and authentic to themselves. But at the same time, large brands, who've been built over years, are now suddenly trying to fit into them. They're suddenly talking language which is a Gen Z language, which is a slang, and it doesn't really relate, but they're really trying hard. Do you think then things like this work? Do you think large brands should really do something like this? Or because, how do they work with Gen Zs who are very different in their thinking and wanting?
Finally, Gen Z is also consumers. Yeah, it's not as if they'll also become old. They'll also, learn the things. So I don't think. See, if you're a see this whole thing about moment marketing, right? It's a
Yes.
kind of a disease. Everyone wants to write moment. This happened, that happened. I want to do something. You don't need to do that, right? So some of the maybe some brands are trying too hard. Maybe you don't need to do that, right? You also need to know what is the long term runway you're on, right? Just because Gen Z is today chasing this, will I chase that, or will I let it be?
So
You
you have
know,
to know your consumer well. It's not that if that's not your consumer, don't go
yeah,
there.
don't do that. I mean, you don't need to chase every Gen Z moment,
Right.
right? You're a financial services brand. You don't need to chase every Gen Z moment. But if you're a fashion brand, you may have to the agility to do things which will appeal to the Gen Z. But I'm selling a luxury car. I don't need to go after them.
True.
I can avoid them, right? Um, but but things are changing. I'm sure a lot of young people are buying luxury cars. So someone may say, no, we cannot ignore them. We have to go after them. Fine, figure out how to do that. I don't know. I don't have a easy answer to that. It's very difficult.
So also the other thing what I want to in our boardrooms, like, and we BFSI, as you have seen, LIC, or even most of our banks and all, a large television, print, outdoor still exist. But at the same time, you have brands like Boat, Mama Earth, and all, who've really been build the brand on digital influencers, used all of that, not so much of TV, and they're today 3,000 crore brands. So what do you see now today? If Ambi, you had to start and build a brand, like you have built erstwhile with Santoor and ITC and things. Today, if you had 3 crores, how would you do it? Would you do the same or would you do it differently?
Obviously, I will. The good old days, you could do TV, right? And TV worked very well. But even there, it's, everyone doesn't see the opportunity. Like, for example, many brands did not understand the power of regional TV. Right? One of those few brands which understood that was Santoor. And they said, we will focus on Telugu, we will focus on Marathi, focus
Yeah,
on
they did
Kannada.
very well.
And they said, so I keep telling companies which I talk to, look, don't treat India as one country, treat India as multiple countries. You can't become number one everywhere. So pick states, create a state level strategy. Today, states have become big enough.
Yes.
So,
Winning
Santoor is,
in many Indias.
Santoor is the second largest soap brand in the country. It doesn't sell very much in North. It largely comes from South and West. Right? So there are ways for you to find, in like Mama Earth, for example. I was told Mama Earth actually capitalized on the influencers. Right? They
Yes.
threw a lot of money at influencers
Yes.
and they grew. So as a result, what has happened today, every influencer wants money.
Correct.
Right? So influencer marketing has become too expensive. So it's become what only Unilever can afford. Small companies can't afford. But there will be such opportunities. You have to keep looking, right, where the opportunity is. If Mama Earth used influencers, if Santoor at that point of time used, Marathi channel and television, Telugu channel, you have to keep looking, where is that opportunity for me? Is it, like, for example, podcast? Is it video? Is it creating your own channel? Is it to go after these nano channels, which have, let's say, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 viewers per per month, and I'll go after 10 of them, 20 of them, 100 of them? I don't know. So someone has to go and take a chance and see what works.
Interesting. So you're saying, yes, look for the next new thing, and it could be regional, it could be nano. And I like another point that you made, that this D2C brands today who are coming in, and they truly only want to do mid funnel, bottom. They just want to start targeting and convert and not think about brand. And like you said rightly, that brand building from day one is fundamentally really important. Also brings me to another point where you have bought in Geeta in your whole thinking with marketing. And do you want to throw more light on for my
Huh?
consumers on Geeta and detachment? And you brought the mythology to marketing, and you've spoken around that you've written spiritual wisdom and marketing coming together.
Well, I wrote a book called For God's Sake, which was on Ad Man on the Business of Religion. So my PhD was on
Yes, you've done
con-
religious
consumer behavior
and
and
religion.
religiosity. So,
That's really interesting.
so I'd done a bit of reading on that, but I'm not an expert on spirituality. I wouldn't want to talk about that. But see, in a country like India, religion is everywhere you go, right? You cannot but accept that religion is important part of our milli, and marketers have to understand that. Right?
Okay.
So if you don't understand it, you're going to miss out. Like, for example, at one time, I think Big Bazaar used to tell their store managers, please keep track of all the festivals celebrated in your locality.
Yes,
There could be a temple, there could be a dargah, there could be a church which is celebrating something.
absolutely.
So create a package for that, right? So you got to understand your consumers. If they're going to be celebrating a particular religious festival, don't shun that, embrace it. Is all I can say about that topic. It's a complex topic.
Nice. And coming to your consumer insights, and since you've written in this book also, but today consumer has so many different moments. Ambi, they are equally enjoying K drama. They are equally listening to Hanuman Chalisa on Spotify, and you are also including your regional food. So there is a lot of mix, and this is also very true in tier two towns. A lot of K-pop has come in, K-beauty has come in, and because of the influencers and Instagram reels. How do you now decode consumer in this kind of an environment?
So I think,
And as brands, what should you do?
yeah, I think as a brand, you got to. That's why I keep saying, you got to continue to invest in understanding your consumers. How are they changing? Some changes could be temporary. Some changes could be permanent. For example, without doubt, across the country, importance of education, right? That everyone wants to educate their children. Every mother wants her daughter to be educated, to be having a job, right?
Yes.
So there's a tremendous attitude change. Some of these are temporary, like some of these are fashionable, like what dress you wear. Like there's this lounge dress become very popular now. It may come, it may go away, right? Uh,
More
K-pop,
fads.
K-pop has come, may be there, may not be there. K-fashion, then of course K-beauty has come. Will it be
Yes.
there? Will it not be there? But certain fundamental things like the role of women, the role of children, the role of education, the role of technology, the role of seniors. Those are macro trends. You got to differentiate between what you call micro trends and macro trends. So in marketing, you got to track both, right? If you mistake for the woods for the forest, you're gonna be bumping into something. So you got to know this is a macro trend. This is a growing trend. It's going to grow, right? This is a micro trend. The K-pop may come, may go, but this is the fact that everyone is going to consume a lot of content on mobile phone is a macro trend that's going to continue. The fact that uh, video is a medium, people are going to consume a lot of different kinds of stuff on video, is a macro trend. Therefore, how can I write that? Can I create this whole thing about um, hero content and help content and
Yeah, hero and hygiene
habit
and
content,
hub.
hygiene.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that. I'll create maybe one or two hero contents every year, but my hygiene and my help content will continue throughout the year. You got to understand that.
And like you would have always been asked, I'm going to ask you one more time. So many campaigns, so many brands that you worked on. Any of your favorites, two, three that you want to talk about? Campaigns, brands.
So I mean, I worked for almost 15 years on the Tata Motors business, and at that time when Tata was launching Indica, no one gave the brand a chance of success. How is a truck maker going to make a car?
Car.
So, in fact, Mr. Tata, when he was awarded the the Detroit Auto Writers Association awarded him the Lifetime Achievement Award. In that acceptance speech, he has mentioned that. It's a very nice little speech saying, look, no one gave me a chance of success. But all said and done, against all odds, they succeeded. I'm very happy in India, not only Tata, there's Mahindra.
Yes.
And these two cars are among the top 5 car companies in the country. Sometimes they're 2, second, third, fourth, but they are there. And they've beaten back a lot of big multinational companies. So in my own way, I contributed something to the success of Tata Motors journey. I'm very happy. Another brand I worked on for many, many years, Santoor, which when I started working, it was 1/10 the size of Lux. And at that time, if you had asked me, will it ever become bigger than Lux, I would have said no. But 2018, Santoor overtook Lux,
Yeah,
to
your
become
regional connect and Santoor mom.
Santoor Mom campaign.
Yeah.
They still continue to use it. So, I mean, these are two uh, brands I very warm, very fond of, talking about.
How about Amul? Because Amul still continues today.
Amul is a phenomenal success. Our agencies, we didn't do uh, the Amul butter campaign that's done by Dakuna. He does a great job.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Amul has been a great client for the agency. They continue to be a key client. I've been a part of many discussions on what all we did. I mean, in fact, when they were launching Amul ice cream, people said, "Who's going to buy a brand called ice cream called Amul?" Because ice cream is fun. Ice cream is for young people. Amul is a boring brand. Amul is milk.
Milk, yeah.
Amul is butter.
Butter.
If you take Amul ice cream, it will taste like butter. But Amul managed to succeed that very sharp positioning and very aggressive pricing. And they are the largest ice cream company in the country.
So, Ambi, now more fun. We've spoken a lot of serious, a lot of advice from you, a lot of interesting anecdotes from you. But now to our fun side, which is a rapid fire section. One overused brand word you would ban from everyday usage, or even or everyday campaign today.
Passion.
Passion. Why would you say that?
It's just overused. You use passion for everything. You need passion. You need passion. It's just an overused cliche word.
More powerful, a good slogan or a good logo?
I'm a wordsmith, so slogan.
Your favorite slogan?
I'll be biased, but utterly, butterly.
Utterly, butterly delicious. One brand's packaging that you've totally nailed it, or they've been the game changer. And I know one of the example you spoke about the Pepsi, the Coke where the Pepsi, the can opener where the size they made it small and it really changed. And I think in one of your books it was there.
The classic packaging, probably Coke, because the brief given to the designer was, even if I break the bottle into 100 pieces, from that one piece I can make out it's a Coke bottle.
Wow.
And that's true, right? But in India, we've had some very interesting, I think, paperboard packaging has been fun.
Yes.
Very interesting, very innovative.
More likely to drive impulse purchase, color or price?
India, price.
Still price sensitive, yes. So we used to always say in retail that, Indian consumers want 5-star service with 2-star price. So it's always been pricey. If a new brand gets one shot to impress you, what are you looking at first, reels or billboards?
I'm old school. I'm more billboard.
Any brand that you recently have seen and you like their billboard? Anything that in this clutter that it recalls?
Too much clutter, but I
Too
think
much.
Apple still,
Absolutely, I agree with you. Very clean, very just to the point and very clean. Finish this. The next marketing trend we are all going to be sick of is
reels.
reels. Yeah, I agree. Too much of clutter, too much. And thank you very much, Ambi. Had a great pleasure talking to you, reliving the moments or even the moments which even I wasn't there as a part of work life, but a lot of things, learning from you. So thank you.
Thank you, Darshana, for inviting me onto your show. It was great, walking you through my journey and what little bit I know and sharing it with your viewers and your listeners. So thank you very much.
And if anybody wants to reach out to you, Ambi, where do
They can follow me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I am the most active. I also share the same stuff on Twitter X as well as on Facebook. I'm not that active on Insta, but LinkedIn is where people can follow me and read. What I try and do is whenever I write something, I always put it on LinkedIn. People can see it, and once in a while I put some stuff which I find is interesting, which again people have commented that it's been discussed in boardrooms, which I think is nice.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes.
you.